Hi YouTube, guys and gals. Welcome back to the Nest. Viper here, bringing you historical board gaming global war. It's January of 1939. Nato behind the camera. We're going to go ahead and get started. This is one of our last fast-moving paces, and then everything's going to start getting really exciting next round. So we're going to go ahead and start. Germany is moving their battleship to placement, which is also going to raise global tensions. With that global tension of the capital ship coming out, we're going to be looking at the Euro-Brits raising by 1 point. Our transport, we've decided by a transport, an infantry, a motorized, and a militia. Again, we don't have Spain anymore, so we're not lend-leasing to Spain, so we don't have to worry about that. Now, the infantry, motorized, and militia, Axis players, this is for you. Don't forget, SS units come out next turn, so we're going to put those in Berlin, and we're going to have those ready to go when the SS units come out. There's no combat, and our subs are going to meet up together over here in the Atlantic. We had a sub that was in the Baltic that we moved over towards the Atlantic here. Our Sudetenland light tank moved to Slovakia, annexed that out, so we ended up with 2 infantry and a fighter for that one. So we now have those 3, but that also raises that global tension with the Euro-Brits again to 2 points. Our raising of our IPPs for Germany is now at a 24 total, and then the Pac Brits are sitting at 16. Or not the Pac Brits, the Euro Brits, excuse me, are going to be sitting at 16. Russia, fast movement here. Light tank went to Leningrad, an infantry for CCP in Communist China, and we also bought an infantry for Leningrad. Again, Russia is still going to continue to move west. CCP Mountaineers and an infantry over here to Changjue, and to reinforce that KMT infantry that was sitting there. Japan and Manchuria. Japan took their battleship or they bought a stage 4 battleship with an Emoto. So that was 7 IPPs right off the bat. They put 1 on their carrier, and then they had 2 SNLF Marines that they're going to place in Tokyo. Manchuria repurchased a Kwangtung army, maxing them out on how many they can have since they lost that 1 for last round. And they purchased an armored car and placed it in West Manchuria. For the Manchurians, they did not actually fight anything. They didn't have any battles. They just kind of stayed put, and they moved their armored car to that was in West Manchuria to Peking. However, Japanese went from Zhejiang and the Air Force from Henan to Guangxi, down here in the bottom. So that's what we're looking at here. Oops. One of our wounded that we had a nice little battle on. That was artillery, motorized, 5 infantry, 2 fighters, and 2 tactical bombers against 4 militia and 2 infantry. They both, KMT and Japan, both had hospitals. It was pretty much an even roll. Japan did miss 21 times, not very surprising with their lack of boots on the ground, but they did hit all of Guangxi's units. When they rolled for their hospitalization, wounded versus dead, it was equal. 2 dead, 2 wounded for Japan, and 3 dead and 3 wounded for the KMT. The KMT took their wounded on 2 infantry and a militia, and Japan took it on 2 infantry. Japan goes up 2 IPPs, putting them at 20 now, and KMT drops 2 more. The Air Force went back to Henan, and the cruiser to the Mid-Pacific block. Here, our big block that we have in this one. Our transport picked up the infantry in Tokyo and Korea and took it down to Zhejiang. Staying over here in the Pacific, our Pac Brits purchased an artillery that they lent-leased to KMT with the Burma Road, and a militia of their own. Their Bengal artillery moved to Burma, and the placement of the militia went to Benares, and the artillery went to Yunnan. Anzac purchased an infantry, dropped it in Sydney, and the transport is finally back there at Australia in Sydney as well. Euro-Brits on the other side of the board, they placed 4 on their cruiser to move it up to the next stage. They purchased 2 infantry and a colonial infantry. Now, colonial infantry is a special unit unique to Britain and France. It can be placed anywhere without a factory, but there is a cap limit. You can only have one per territory when you purchase these. So when you get them, just remember that one can go here and one can go there. So like you put one in London or you put one in Egypt or one in South Africa, it doesn't matter, but it can only be one. But the placement, what we had is our colonial actually went and got dropped in Egypt. So it's in this block here, that little purple one. Remember a few episodes ago we said our purples would be our unique units particular to each country. And then the transports are all moving to London. The tactical bomber that was in London is now sitting on our light carrier, and that's in Atlantic from London. We had one infantry that got dropped in London and one infantry that got dropped in South Africa, and everything that's in Africa is going to continue moving north. America and KMT, very simple. We paid 4 to move the cruiser for America here. And we have a light tank that was going to get placed in DC. KMT had enough to purchase 2 infantry this round. There's no combat at all. KMT is kind of biding their time. The artillery in Sichuan is... the artillery went to Sichuan, and Zaibei Zanma went to Communist China to help reinforce that. There was a tactical bomber in the northwest over here, the Pacific Northwest of the U.S. We moved it to the carrier as well. And our infantry that was in New York is now in D.C. We have 1 infantry to Hunan and 1 infantry to Taiyang. And that's pretty much the end of this round. Now, things are going to get interesting next round, guys. Oh, I missed France and Italy. So on France and Italy, there wasn't a lot, so it's probably why I missed it, because all France did was move their battleship up and pay 1 on their debt of their cruiser, and Italy paid 6 to move their battleship up and paid 1 debt on their cruiser. So there wasn't a lot for those, so this is probably why I missed it. So that's it on those. But next round, guys, we're looking at July of 1939. A lot of stuff's fixing to happen. I got a nice list that we're going to bring up in the beginning of the next round so that we know what we've got going on. We'll be looking at that here in a few. We're going to get this going. Things are going to start getting really interesting amongst all of the parties. So like it, live it, love it. If you have any comments, drop them below. We'll see you on the next round. Thanks, guys.